Welcome to the Real Estate Show on KMED. April the 29th is our date. Pete Belcastro and Joe Brett, the real estate guys, with you. We're both real estate brokers with John L. Scott in Southern Oregon, and we get together with you once a week here on KMED to talk about all sorts of real estate-related issues and topics through almost 8 years and 400 shows. And once again, today we have a new topic we've never talked about, Joe Brett, and that's tiny homes. You know, I mean, we more or less, but never really specific about it.
You kind of gloss over it there. What we bring people is the most bleeding edge information on our local real estate market on a weekly basis, and are really fortunate that the folks that we partner and work with bring us such great people with knowledge of things that are happening that people just flat need and want to know about. Cities and counties and
just in the last couple of weeks,
like moving on all of these issues that we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, the legislature's dealing with a lot of these things that we talked about. Certainly last week, affordable housing was a great show with Oregon Home First Development and what they're doing in Portland and Bend and building affordable housing, $90,000 a unit, private sectorly done, no government subsidies, partnering with groups, churches, all sorts of different groups. Versus the one here in Medford that is the government-subsidized property at $250,000 a door to build.
It's interesting.
It's stunning, the difference.
Yeah, there's some innovative ideas out there that I think we all could learn and embrace.
Innovative ideas. That's really cool. Well, that's why Alex Aaronson is with us today. Alex is a real estate broker with John L. Scott and in our office, and Alex was on our show before. Nice to see you here. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
This topic of tiny homes, it's really interesting, isn't it?
It is. No, I think it's very interesting to the real estate market. I think it could bring a lot as well.
Yeah? Well, I'm wondering where it's going to go. And I see when I talk to someone like Alex, who's younger than us, he sees neighborhoods of these. He sees this in the future.
Why not?
Mm-hmm. Right? No, most certainly do. Yeah, I mean, you can get a small little lot and put like 10 or 15 of these little things that will help the rental market at the least and bring more housing to everyone.
Well, that's a big chore.
That last thing you said is the key issue is housing is not affordable or attainable for a lot of people. Mm-hmm. It's moving that other direction away, and we see that in Portland especially as a prime example. But we even see it here in our own valley, and we've got to come up with some solutions, some options,
alternatives.
For folks.
Alternatives.
Yeah.
There's got to be better for so many people, better than what we're doing, because some people don't need the 2,000, 2,400 square foot house, those kinds of things. And we really don't think about that. I'm telling Joe, how much do I spend in my house? I spend most of my time in my office. Exactly. It's as big as this studio, and I live in a house. Anyway, well, Sean Moroni is here with us, and Sean is the owner of Southern Oregon Tiny Homes, SO Tiny Homes. And Sean is you were a framer. First of all, welcome to our show. Nice to have you here.
Yeah, thank you very much.
You were a framer. You were in the previous life before you got into this. Tell us what you were doing.
Yeah, I was doing custom framing and finish work pretty much all around the valley for the last 15 years or so. I kind of honed my craft, but I've been doing this since I was a little baby.
So you started building and tinkering
Born
and building.
with a hammer.
Yeah.
Born with a hammer.
Tell us how you got into the tiny home world. How did this strike you? Because your story.
How did you survive the downturn?
Yeah,
we lost a lot of guys.
That was pretty rough. I actually moved my whole family to Vancouver because I couldn't find work here. I had to go somewhere where work was still going, and that was the trade I was in, so I didn't have much of a choice. I really got in. That's kind of the start of when I got into alternate building. I was looking into cob, straw bale, kind of other options because I was looking for something new. I love efficiency. That's a really big thing in my life, and so by going through that, I started looking around, and it was kind of hard to sell those, to get into a business model that those were selling on the regular. Right. I kind of caught wind of tiny homes. I'd probably say 3-4 years ago, and I kind of started looking into maybe we could build something that is efficient but is mobile still. Realized it was a pretty hot topic, not so much here, but nationally it was starting to catch wind. Right. And I knew I could do it because I'm really good at building. I mean, I built custom $1 million houses. I realized that the people that were involved in it had a better community sense. Everyone who was more interested in the smaller housing was looking at smaller carbon footprints, more efficient living, so cheaper bills. You don't have to pay as much out into utilities and such. And then also, I've always been really nomadic my whole life. So it kind of fit my lifestyle. I don't own a lot of stuff. I don't connect to a lot of stuff. And I move around a lot. So it really was a no-brainer in my world.
You landed in Vancouver right when Portland was on the cusp tiny homes were really taking hold. That's where I first heard of them. And the movement was strong up there for a couple of years before we even got wind or knew much down here.
Yeah, that it did. That's where I first saw them. Was they had like a hotel, a downtown kind of on Alberta Street, and I was like, oh, look how cool they are. I kind of got into the fact that there's a lot more built-ins, and it's kind of like a throwback to like the 30s, 40s, 50s when people used to have a lot more craftsmanship in custom-built, placed situations in your home. Mm-hmm. And when you're in small spaces, you definitely need really usable space that's dedicated, and so I get to do a lot of cool little moves. I really like that a lot.
So Sean, you started your business then, right, in your garage, and you built you built one, right? You built a tiny home.
Well, you need to move to the alley because you didn't have room to build in the garage.
It was the classic American dream. I think I was with my brother-in-law, who was a partner of mine, and we were sitting in the garage trying to figure out how we could build something out of our garage, kind of joking at first, drank a beer and thought, it'd be great to be able to do that. And then
great things start.
And then soon we were pouring into the alley, taking it over. Neighbors were all, what is going on there? But we built it, and surprisingly, the neighbors were like ecstatic. They cheered when it came out of the alley. They were all excited to see it happen. They thought it was wonderful. They saw the craftsmanship that came in it. They were really excited. That really sparked our business. We got pictures and started marketing like stuff we had built, and it started to take off.
And so today you build them, right? I mean, you're building. You have a place. You have a business that you're building these tiny homes in the valley here.
Yeah, just here in Central Point.
Central Point.
Yeah, we try to use all Oregon stuff, materials, and we get our wood milled right next door. Literally right next door. We don't even have to transport it. A lot of our lumber is local.
You do like efficiency.
Wow.
I do. Yeah. Anything to save that $2 on gas, right?
I bet Sean's home is really neat too.
Yeah,
so, his home
yeah.
and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, Alex, how did you two get together in this world then? Okay.
It was actually off a moldy duplex I had listed around last year, you would say?
Yeah, something. Yeah.
It was super moldy. Yeah, black mold is about a $50K remediation job, and I had it listed for over 150 days before Sean came in and was thinking about remodeling it.
Yeah, well, good for you. And did you do that?
Not yet. Still working on that
situation.
Black
mold, we've had shows on mold, haven't we? We've learned.
Who hasn't had a moldy duplex along the way?
I'm trying to think. What's the correct name for the? What's the correct name for black mold? Remember that? Specciatori? That's not that.
You've been back in class. I can tell.
I haven't used it for a while. Anyway, okay. So Sean, back to the tiny homes. So today, all right, what is the? I mean, obviously we need housing in our valley.
Yes.
There's just no question. I mean, we need all sorts of alternative housing. We're building, big homes up there up on the hill, right? Vista Point up there in that direction. We got someone building lots of homes, in and around Spring Street. There, Hayden Homes is. It's single-family homes. Why do we not see more of the tiny homes politically, or why don't we see more around the valley right now? What's the problem? What's the issue with them?
So they're kind of like a strange hybrid of housing. Because they don't sit on a standard foundation. They're ran on a trailer. People tend to think of them. Well, they are classified as RVs currently. So
they're classified as RVs.
They're officially an RV right now, but they're definitely not an RV. The only thing RV about them is that they have wheels. I mean, just like say a manufactured home, everything off that trailer, which we have custom built and engineered for us, it's not just like a fifth wheel trailer.
So
or whatever.
What's the difference then between a tiny house and a manufactued home? I know there's a lot, but what would you say there? I mean,
I would really all I can say beyond a manufactured home, and that is. They're more mobile if you really wanted to move them around.
And they're smaller, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
and they're not. And in our shops and a lot of shops around that I've seen, they aren't manufactured. They aren't slammed together, put together in a day or two. They're crafted. I'd say it's almost more like an art form of a home. You get a little more like craftsmanship. You get a lot of custom built like storage, and it's all very purposefully built. When you look at a manufactured home, it's just square rooms with a closet.
In manufactured homes, I mean, you're going to get a double wide at kind of a minimum today. Those are going to be 1,200 to 1,500 square feet, which is probably double or more than double, isn't it, the size of a tiny home?
Yeah. And if you're looking for the space and the price, I mean, your manufactured home might be your answer, but manufactured homes aren't really ever going to be accepted back in the city. Like they're not going to go put them up, a park down, near
Sure.
a park or anything.
Sure.
The thing that tiny homes really bring is the classy look, right? We use spray foam, so you get R21 insulation. You're getting standard 2x4 construction.
Okay.
Your roofs are 2x6s with metal roofs on them, so you're getting a 50-year roof. You're getting a lot more efficiency.
All right.
So really, you're not heating that 1,500 square foot building that you may not use all the time. A lot of people spend time in their living room, and then they go to bed in their room. A lot of people don't hang out in their bedroom, or maybe they do. We can custom build them to whatever they like. But I think it's the efficiency factor is much, much higher. Better windows, better doors, better insulation.
The Builders Association, they were upset at the time because they said the tiny homes were not built to Oregon building code standards. Right. That's not true anymore, correct?
The trailer makes it.
It's the trailer that makes it the difference.
The trailer's the hybrid issue, because I actually do currently build, to my knowledge of the coding in Jackson County. So I'm using the same headers, same tie downs. I put lead-ins in the walls. I nail with ring shank nails, 8 inches on center. I do all the stuff that you would do on a standard house. So it looks the same. The framing looks the same. The wiring's done by an electrician. The plumbing's done by a plumber. It's not just a fly-by-night operation. It's definitely all licensed and set up right.
All right. How big is there a standard size, or do we come in different sizes?
I guess if you could fit yourself in a 40 square foot box, I'd build it for you.
40?
No. I mean, generally, the smallest we've done personally is 200 square feet, and then all the way up to 400, 450. But we could get a little bigger, but generally we try to stay right in there just due to weight.
400, 450 square feet.
What type of zoning challenges and things like that are you up against? Most of the vacant dirt in Medford, even in the urban growth boundary that's going to expand, is spoken for and is snapped up by developers. Are you up against it? Are you able to? Could we have a little subdivision of mini homes if we had an open space within the city limits, say of Medford or Ashland or one of our communities right now?
Yeah. I think that's actually one of the great things about this is, so if all those are spoken for, the property rate, I think you can get a lot of urban infill with these. I think there's a way to really use them as like an ADU situation, to where you can actually use some of these bigger backyards where you can help the people that are trying to work with their mortgages currently, or B, the people that have already paid it off and need to rent some space, or they have some extra space. I think it allows to get urban infill closer to the city, where these actually are more used. Everyone thinks, it's a good country situation, but I think actually it's a better answer for the city, because it puts smaller spaces, efficient spaces with people who believe in community in the community. So actually it could help like public transportation and saving the libraries, because they aren't going to stay at home all the time. You have less space, you're more in the community. And I think as you urban infill and get these people in to their closer to their jobs, it helps with efficiency, helps with the growth, say the Medford downtown, helps maybe RVTD, because then people are using the bus a little more. It kind of brings those spirited people that are into that efficiency and close to the neighborhoods in, and I think that would be a fantastic thing.
Can people do that now? Can they put one of these on their property?
Currently, right now, no. In Fresno, they do have a law that is passed that allows them to be permitted as ADUs, which I'm 100% for coding, zoning. I think that's all needed for current housing. We've gotten where we are from that. Right. I think we need to continue our strive for the best housing we can possibly get. So I fully agree with all of that.
Yeah, you've lived it. You know why those are
we
in
need
place.
coding and zoning. By allowing them with a permit, the city can charge the tax.
Systems development charge.
Yeah.
And they can get their money. You're going to raise the value of the property, so you're going to get more in property tax if you do that. So it seemed that they would make sense. But right now, you can't do this anywhere, right? You couldn't do it
currently, you cannot, because it's an RV, technically. There's been great...
How do you change that, Sean? How do you change that? Is there legislation?
What if I put it on a foundation in my backyard?
Do I do that?
Yes. So in Fresno, they tie them down like manufactured homes. So as long as you can get, it seems to me that like it's really starting to try to change. Salem's kind of working with tiny home activists to push it forward a little more, to give standards, because you have to have building standards.
Yep, sure.
And to make it more of like a legal situation to where you can legally do it. There's many towns. I couldn't name them all right off the top of my head, but there's a lot of towns throughout the country that have that have allowed certain plans that you can build that have up to code and engineered. So like it's starting to move forward. To be honest, I've talked to a lot of city officials. I've never really had anyone say, "Oh, that's just the stupidest thing I've ever heard. You just get out of here." They just don't know how to do it. Right. So like it's really like I need to approach the city with a real customer that wants to push it forward in a legal manner. And then, because you could talk hypothetical with a government official for till you're blue in the face and nothing's ever going to change, but they need something in front of them to really work on it.
We're going to do that. I'm your guy.
I saw tiny homes in a Newport, Oregon subdivision that was part of a larger division that had like 6 of these. And they're out there and they're coming on and they're going to be more popular. We're going to come back here in a break and we're going to talk about cost of these things and what's in them. I'm curious as to what that's there as well. We're with Alex Aaronson and Sean Moroni today on The Real Estate Show. We're talking about tiny houses. What are the future of them in Southern Oregon? Hey, we're coming right back to The Real Estate Show right after this. The Real Estate Show continues here on KMED. April the 29th is our date. Pete Belcastro and Joe Brett, the Real Estate Guys, with you. Thanks for joining us today in our last Saturday of April, heading into the month of May. Spring weather, hopefully summer somewhere around the corner. The real estate market continues to sizzle around. You know, a lot of new listings have come on certainly in the last in this last month, as we know that the demand is still there, and those lower prices, the luxury market. You know, those $750,000 homes in properties and higher, they all of a sudden, there's a lot of them, and they have like almost a year's supply of inventory all of a sudden. But down below that, it's still very much the seller's market there. It's the buyer's market now, the luxury market, because of the all of a sudden oversupply of it out there.
We had our John L. Scott extravaganza of open homes last week, and I met some really interesting folks, and even one lady that was scouting and moved up here last June. Her friends had come up here to visit. And it's a really typical story of the California pipeline that opens. They come up here and go, wow, you have a beautiful home. This is a great place. And now they're moving up here. And so there's a whole little subgroup there of their friends that are really interested in coming to Southern Oregon now. So that's how it works.
Where would you rather live? Anyway, today on the show, we're talking with Alex Aaronson, who's a real estate broker with John L. Scott, and Sean Moroni, who owns the Southern Oregon Tiny Homes. We're talking about alternative housing and what might be available in the future in Jackson County in Southern Oregon, because we have a housing shortage, a housing problem, and so far government doesn't seem to be solving the problem. So let's see if others can do it, right? I mean, it makes a lot of sense. We're talking about tiny homes. Alex, do you see what Sean and Joe were talking about earlier, ADU, additional dwelling units on existing properties, homes for individual homes and subdivisions like this? Tell me about, you think the demand is going to be there? You think this is the future? I mean, you're a young guy, your generations. Is this the kind of housing that appeals to people?
I really do, Pete. I think the demand varies with investors to regular families that just want to put their in-law in the backyard, or even farmers that just want to keep it simple in the house and roam their lands. But I believe that, investors that you can put on a small plot of land, they could put like 6 or 7 of these tiny homes and make a little HOA community. Mm-hmm. I think it would be very helpful for the rental market once again. Yeah. And, with people looking for ADUs and, paying high-end top dollar over $100,000 for an ADU sometimes, I think this would save cost and help with the mortgages like we were talking about earlier.
I think so too.
Home ownership and the rental market would be greatly enhanced with these options. Be available.
A tiny home is going to limit who's going to buy, who's interested in them, right? I mean, you can't be a family. because they're too small. Right. A family, it's not for them. So it's for who's older folks? Is it for younger folks? Could a couple live in a tiny home together, or is it for mostly a single person? What would you say there?
I think definitely a young couple, but it can be also an older couple. Other than the stairs to get up to the loft, that's up there, which I don't know if you can maybe do another model that it's all single floor,
level.
Anyways, it's for all ages. It's very compatible. It's very easy to get to everything.
Well, we've heard about them that they're classified as an RV, and that needs to change. But so, Sean, what does something like this cost? You're building them now. You've got another one you're going to build, and he's also going to be. We're going to hear from him. He's also on HGTV with tiny homes. This is not something that is just like. This isn't just like we're just making this up here. This is
you're
really
out of the alley now, man.
So, what does something like this cost?
So the price range is pretty wide.
Okay, sure.
Our base model that we can start at is a 20-footer with a double loft, which gives you versatilities like a single person or maybe like a couple just starting out. Or, That one's going to be about $40,000 we can do at the base model price. And then the sky's the limit after that, really. The one we're doing right now is almost $120,000. He's got a lot of bells and whistles in it, though. He's got like a glass garage door that's walking out onto his deck. It has rain sensing skylights, fake stone, a pretty nice like stone gas fireplace insert setup.
Really?
Wow. It's loaded. So I mean, when you're at the 120,000, you're kind of looking at more of a luxury style setup, with lots of skylights and lots of extras, tech wired, the whole deal.
Yeah.
But so really, it's anywhere in there. We custom build them, so you can really get anything. You can get all single floor. That's what we're doing currently. The one we're working on is for a couple that are like 60. They don't want to do the loft. They don't want to do stairs, ladder. They do have a little storage loft, but their room is all on the base floor. Just to touch back on who's really interested in this, I think it'd be really good for, say, a younger couple that's just starting out. You could buy something like this. Say you start the family after you've already been in this little house. You could then save up your money, buy a bigger house, put this in the backyard. You have an extra guest cottage set up, and eventually run it back later. Like you could have rent out your house when you get older, maybe even, and move back into it. They have 50-year roofs, standard house, windows and doors and siding.
I was going to just think, you could also do that, Joe, as a Airbnb rental on a separate, you put it on your place
now
also.
You're thinking.
As you could think that too. Alex, do you think, you talked about investors. I think investors sometimes are kind of souring on a lot of rental properties right now with all the up and down about the legislation about, no eviction things and things like that. You think investors would have an interest in this? What do you think you could rent something like this for?
I mean, it all varies on how the rental market fluctuates. But I mean, in the high end, probably like $500, $600, on a solid return of paying something for $40,000 and then you're renting it for $600.
Well, if what Sean is, I think they're higher than that. If you're saying the $120,000 model with all these bells and whistles, it seems like maybe you get more than that even. I mean, you probably could get more than that and get your money back, and it just become an investment.
And here's a news flash. You don't have the overhead of a 1906 home that you're getting the same amount of rent from, and you're pouring money into every 5 years to keep it up and to keep it in good shape and rentable for your folks.
Not to mention the efficiency you get from the tiny home. So when you're in the 1906 house, the windows, you heat the house, and the window, it's warmer outside that window than it is inside. When you're getting these with the spray foam, R21 insulation all the way throughout, 30 in the ceiling and 38 in the trailer. When you start warming it up, a space heater warms up the whole house in 6 minutes. So, I mean, your power bills,
all your utilities,
your utilities are considerably cheaper. So it's kind of a push toward, like getting people in to rent. If you were going to rent it, there's definitely the efficiency. Their bills will be a lot lower. So.
Yeah.
Well, I'm wondering where this is going to go. I see investors as rentals. I see communities, planned communities.
I see demand. That's what drives the bus, right?
Well,
there's demand out there for these types of options.
Well, if this, I don't know, a subset, I'm trying to think of housing, affordable housing, and I guess you couldn't classify this as part of that, could you?
Affordable housing
is a tiny home, could you?
The cool thing that you could really do, I mean, just all speculative in my world thinking about it, I think it actually could be the best rent control option ever. So if you allowed the city allowed us to put a section where they could put 10 of them, right?
Okay.
You get to have the person gains the ability to own their home, right? So they have pride of ownership, right? But they need a place to put it. So you could rent control the space on the property because it's a low overhead startup for the owner of the property, however. Okay. You could try to keep it at a kind of an increase every year on rent like you would normally on a rent control situation. But the people would actually own their house. So the overhead for the investor would only have to have the spot. So you'd have to have the utilities driven in. But after that, I mean, you don't have much maintenance on the property because it's not your house, right? So you're just getting the rent space. Kind of like a manufactured home park, but you can kind of keep it more classy with an HOA and the look, But you can bring up some of these lower communities that are struggling, with older housing and crime and stuff. I think you'd clean some of these up with pride of ownership and rent control, so you can kind of keep the rent down a little lower. So they're paying their payment for their house if it's you're financing a tiny home, say, for $60,000, and then the rent space. I think it would keep it. I think it would help. Well,
if they told us last week they can build affordable housing for $90,000 a unit, right? So you're talking anywhere from, what did you say, 60
Yeah, I could get to 40, depending. So
that's even lower. That's even lower than what they can do on that sector there. So it seems like you're right. There's got to be some way that can be factored in for larger groups of people, especially in the need area of housing for them. And whether it's veterans, I mean, think of the different things that are out there that we hear people in our show that our listeners hear us for over these years. Veterans should have backup housing. Hundreds and hundreds of people waiting for housing for veterans. Look at even the subsidized housing on the project down there. How many,
3 to 5 year waiting list.
5 year wait.
Yeah.
Try to get an FHA rental around. It's waiting again.
And we have
this is a solution, and it's cheaper than anything I've heard so far say. And it sounds like it's better housing that's even out there.
7 billion people and counting on the planet. We need options for smaller houses.
We're talking with Sean Moroni from SO Tiny Homes, Alex Aaronson from John L. Scott Real Estate, Pete and Joe, the real estate guys. We're coming right back. Hey, right after this. The Real Estate Show rolls on KMED. April the 29th is our date. Next week here on the show, we're going to be Property Management Week. Danielle Roberts from Sterling West Property Management will be along, and we'll update you on all those laws up there in Salem they're trying to put together regarding rentals and all the furor that went around about that, and an update on the rental market situation. I'm curious. I can't wait to hear, because as our guest knows, Alex, rental market is such a precursor of the whole real estate market, isn't it? And,
it's too hot right now.
It's just insane. I mean, there's no rentals. People have pulled some of them out. They've sold them. I mean, investors have really they're kind of running the rental market right now, I think. Anyway, but that'll be next week here on the show. Today we're talking alternative housing with Sean Moroni from SO Tiny Homes and Alex Aaronson, who's a real estate broker with John L. Scott. They know each other, and we got together to talk about this because it's pretty timely with all the situations that we have around the crisis in housing. Gee, we've had Access on here. We've had Arvar raising money for the Home Foundation for help first-time home buyers, and we've seen the subsidized housing route with the Jackson County Housing Authority. Last week, affordable housing affordably with the private sector, and today tiny housing, which Sean makes the most sense of anything. Maybe I've heard all of it. I don't know. Maybe it just seems that it's such a void that you've got there that is going to really fill a need. I'm sorry. There you go. Sorry, guy.
Yeah, I really think that it does exactly fill that need. That's why I got into it. I was really interested in. I mean, I can't afford to go rent a place for $1,200 that my bills are out of control, and it's kind of run down house. I mean, they're still charging like $1,200. It's an answer in my life. So
we got to figure out, Alex, from the real estate side, is how can we help homeowners get these onto their properties as additional dwelling units, as an official ADU, which would increase the value of their property, would allow them to earn money from their property for other things if they wanted to, or rent, or for mother-in-laws, family members, whatever. That seems to be a legitimate need, and this is a good way to do that. Certainly younger people, are going to need that kind of housing. So it certainly seems like the future is going to be bright for that. And I'll bet in a few years, if we talk about this, we're going to see more of it. I think there's no question about that. Now tell us, Sean, HGTV, Home and Garden TV Network, has contacted you, or tell me you're going to be on one of their episodes, correct?
Yeah, we got pretty lucky. Our first one we actually ever built. We did a walkthrough and put it on our Facebook, and I wouldn't say it was viral, but we got like 26,000 hits in I think it was like a week or 4 days or something. And Talent Scouts had sent our video into HGTV. And then they called and asked if we wanted to be on there. So they said, "Hey, we love your work. Looks really cool. Looks TV ready. We just want, if you can find a customer that wants to go on TV, let's get the deal going." And so we're going on a Tiny House Big Living is what the show is called.
Tiny House Big Living. Well, if you need any extras, Alex and I'd be happy to stand in behind you a second.
I got a lot of sweepers. I got a lot of sweepers coming
no up. No problem. So when is this going to take? Are you doing it right now?
So they set up the camera last week.
Okay.
The trailer's here. Right now we're just doing time lapse of the frame up build.
Okay.
They come out and hit some major install points and do the talking. this show is primarily based on the customer. So there's going to be some of us and then the major walkthrough and stuff, which is fantastic for us. We get professional video footage of our build, which is pretty awesome. I love that.
Yeah. Do you know when this thing will air? Do you have a date
specifically,
yet?
I don't have a date.
Okay.
I know it's in the fall sometime. I don't know specifically though.
That is pretty cool. Now you said you had to show folks, the public, you have one unit that you're going to have an open house this coming week. So when's that going to be?
Yeah, Wednesday.
Wednesday,
I think it's
May 3rd. Okay.
Yeah, at 4:00 at our shop. We are doing a showing of it. This one doesn't have a loft. This is for the older couple. It's I mean, tiny home tours are pretty quick, so you should be able to but at least you can come feel the space, see the quality that we're working with, and kind of feel like what they chose. Finishes and design are all up to the customer. But I have some other stuff to show. We have just a shell that we can show too, and you'll be able to see the start frame up of the HGTV one. So it's pretty cool.
And you said you have others in the pipeline after the one you're building now. You have more coming.
I do. It's starting to fill up this year. So anyone who wants to give me a call and jump in there.
And are you selling them around here, or are they going outside of the valley?
Not a lot here yet.
Not
the
a lot
interest
here
is
yet.
starting
Okay.
to build. I get a lot of people that are interested lately.
Sure.
The question is, where do I put them? Always.
Right.
I've just kind of sold them around so far. But I'm hoping to really get something going where we have the answer to where do we put these. That would be a great one because everyone's interested. I get 400 calls a week. So
when you bring, I guess when you bring them on, say you brought it onto your property as an ADU, you as a homeowner, you have, I guess, you got to bring a water line and a sewer line and electric to it. Is that all you have to do?
Yeah, and probably cut kind of a pad.
A pad
they're
for
kind of heavy. They're 15 to 18,000 pounds. So you want to have a nice solid base to set them on, but definitely you can skirt the tires. It looks just like a house, and there's no construction on your site. I can turn them around in 3 to 4 months, depending on the customization level. So pretty quick.
Well, I see a lot of uses, Alex Aaronson, on these things. I really do.
I do too.
I see demand of these things going to continue to grow as people see them and they see the quality of them.
Yeah,
we got to get the laws changed to allow these to be used in these different ways that we've talked about. Don't you think that's a big thing? And they should change them. I mean, no one else is addressing anything in the housing world. So
and they're definitely not RVs. Once you look at them and feel them and see how they're being built, they're definitely not RVs.
Yeah. I can't wait to see that. Well, good luck with that. HGTV in May the 3rd at 4:00. Where are you located at, by the way? Where's your shop?
6463 Crater Lake Highway in Central Point. It's just behind Garrison's and West Coast Appliance. It's
Crater Lake Highway.
Yeah.
Okay, out there.
Yeah.
All right. Well, good luck with that, and thank you. And we'll see how you do there. Alex, you got, since we're here today, you got a listing you want to share with anybody trying to sell something? I know.
Most certainly. I got one right off the Country Club in East Medford, Rogue Valley Country Club. It's located on 23 South Foothill, 6,054 square feet, 6 bed, 5.5 bath, sits on a 0.6 acre lot, stunning mini mansion.
Yeah.
It has a lagoon pool with 2 waterfalls coming from it. Must sell. Seller is motivated.
Jeez, how much is that?
The price is at $870.
Oh, you're in that upper end, that high end market there. Yeah, well, it's good luck. It's a great spot, isn't it? Though
it's perfect location.
Yeah, it really is. And I've got one also up in Hyatt Lake. Are you looking for a vacation home year round? Remember, it's summer and winter up there at Hyatt Lake. B4, $300,000. You can sleep 10. I don't know why anybody would. It's got a sleeping porch and an upstairs to it, but a nice deck right on the water, right on the lake. And today, of course, this year is going to be a great water year. So a lot of fishing going to take place up there at Hyatt Lake. So anyway, those are out there. Well, good. Nice to visit with you folks today. Sean, good luck to you. I learned a lot. I know our listeners learned a lot today about tiny homes. They are our future for so many people. Alternative housing we need desperately. Alex Aaronson, nice to visit with you also. We'll see you soon.
Yes,
all right.
sir.
That'll do it for the Real Estate Show. We're back with you next Saturday here on KMED talking about the rental market. In the meantime, have a great week, everybody. God bless, and we'll see you next Saturday here on KMED.
You've been listening to The Real Estate Show on KMED Radio, presented by the Rogue Valley Association of Realtors, along with John L. Scott Real Estate of Southern Oregon and Bank 34 Mortgage. For guest contact information, download our free app, or to watch a past show, visit us online at realestateshoworegon.com. This show is produced by Table Rock Productions. Join us again next weekend for Southern Oregon's one and only Real Estate Show on KMED. And thank you for making The Real Estate Show part of your weekend.